Okay, we're in section 20, the series review. My suggestion is this: study the few pages that we're given here about the review process. All right. I know series very difficult. Everyone finds it difficult. All right. Over time, though, you start to realize it really boils down to a few types of tests and a few types of comparisons that we make. All right. So, certainly read through this. Let me just make sure you understand what I mean by that. You know, conversion of derivative series, blah, 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 blah. I guess we've talked about this before. We talked about conversion properties of series. We've talked about geometric series. That's in Math 120, by the way. We've talked about P series. That's something we introduced in this section. I say this section, this course, Math Calculus 2. What else do we do? Divergence test. We talked about that. We talked about integral test. We talked about the comparison test, limit comparison test. Boy, does it get exhausting. Alternating series test. We talked about that. We talked about the ratio test and the root test. And then we're going to do examples. All right, little reminder over here. Just I'll read this to you. It says, I'm reminded of a professor at Columbia University who never gave examples, yet he knew the theory well. His chair requested that he make up examples on the fly, which probably wasn't a very good idea. But he was kind of completely befuddled. And then he presents an example, which I'll be honest with you, the entire class thought was quite ridiculous. And it was a course in, I can't remember what it was a course in, but he gave an example that just about everyone in the room thought to myself how trivial of an example you gave and how difficult his theory was. All right. But anyway, he was befuddled by giving examples. He never did. This is typical. The point is this, though, that his exams, I don't know if he wrote the exams, but someone wrote the exams, they were impossible. Absolutely so difficult that almost everyone looked at them and said, where did this come from? All right. But typically, especially a place like Columbia University, the professor doesn't come in, a research assistant comes in. And he was a young guy, and he said, I hate to tell you this, but the instructor, the professor couldn't pass the exam, right? Which it relieves almost everyone. So if the professor couldn't pass the exam, what could he expect from us? But anyway, here's the deal. The professor does not grade the exam. The research assistant does, which means the research assistant has to come up with a grade key for it. I want to be honest with you. A lot of times in a really tough exam, you make it a grade key. What you do is before you make the grade key up, you know who the brightest students are in the class. And what you do is you look at their work. And that might seem shocking to you. So the research assistant, my suspicion is he looked at the best students class. And by the way, at a place like Columbia University, it isn't like, 4 or 5 people in a classroom. It's a large classroom, right? You're talking about, on an exam day, you're talking well over 100 students taking this exam. And some of those students are really good students. Not all, but a few of them are. So the grader probably looks at the research, look at the best students. He's already identified the best students. And the way you do that is you look at prior exams and you know who floats to the top almost immediately. So the grader at this point, this is a final exam, by the way, comes up with a grade key. But what the grader finds out is that, a large number of students are well prepared for the exam and they do really well on the exam. When I say well, these exams are really difficult. Well might be someone getting half the questions right. That's well. All right. Now you might find that shocking, but that does happen where a good exam, 50% of the questions are answered correctly, right? They're tough exams. You're not expecting anyone to get 100% in these exams, by the way. They're tough exams. All right. But anyway, the deal is, why do people do well in exams and the professor couldn't even take the exam? It's because the amount of time and study effort the students were putting into the material, reading the textbook, looking at other textbook, doing problems, working problems, discussing with colleagues, yada, yada, yada. So when they get to the exams, they were prepared, right? Why did the professor not be able to take the exam? They're not studying it. They may know the material, but they're not studying the material. They're not practicing examples. So this professor was befuddled by questions, right? But not by the theory, all right? So here's the deal. We give you a bunch of theory, but for you guys to do well on this, you must do the examples. How do you do the examples? Well, I'll work the examples at the board for you. This is me working through the examples. I'm no brain surgeon when it comes to this material. I work through it and I try to, trudge my way through it. I know it has something to do with what we presented to you. After I get through the examples, there'll be some more examples for you to try, and those examples will be in the homework. Yeah, do the homework. Also, WebAssign, if it's available to you, please do the WebAssign. All right. Thank you for your attention. Again, I'm no expert in this area. I do try, and we want you guys to try as well. Thank you so much.